Disney's live-action remake of Snow White comes out this weekend, so I find it appropriate to go back almost 90 years and review the first animated movie ever, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Like I said, this movie is 90 years old, which is insane because this movie aged really well for it being almost 90 years old. The animation is certainly an achievement. This movie is the first animated movie ever made. So having just this 2D animation hand-drawn is an achievement on its own. And the animation, unless if they did it over time and worked it to make it look better. If this was the version that was released in 1937, then it was certainly a huge achievement at the time. And even if this movie isn't the version that we saw in 1937, it still would be an achievement because it's still the first animated movie ever to be drawn, and it still looks great to this day. There's a recent tweet I saw from a Disney creator or something when they were watching this movie, and they said they don't think they can recreate the animation on here because their team would not know how to recreate it. Because there's just something about 2D animation that makes it stand out. And for the first movie to ever do it, Snow White, it still does it in a great way that makes creators today not think they could do it anymore. And although the songs in this movie don't really match The Lion King, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, they're still iconic. Like Hi Ho, who does not sing Hi Ho still? Everyone should know what that song is. And to me, Whistle While You Work is iconic. I know it's not as popular, but it's still pretty iconic to me. Just marks the start of Disney. For what Disney is going to be in the future, it kind of just shows us this is what Disney is going to look like. And the songs still hold up to this day. Like I said, although it's not iconic as some of Disney's other songs and better songs, this movie still has some iconic songs and still serves as an iconic scene in that movie. And you can just appreciate this movie for being the start of Disney. This movie started this entire 100-year journey of Walt Disney. Disney had its ups and downs, but a lot of it is a bunch of highs. And a lot of the movies you see today are because of Disney. Like when you look at The Lion King or something, it had a big cultural impact that some movies you like won't be here if it wasn't for The Lion King. Even Snow White, first animated movie ever, if this movie failed, that would be a completely different story. Animation would look completely different. Film would look completely different today if Snow White failed, but didn't, and that's good, because this film just held an impact on the world and started Disney as a whole, which you can appreciate the film for that. So for a movie that's almost 90 years old, it has held up really well and still remains to be a classic that Disney has made. But 90 years old is gonna have some problems, so let's talk about that. Now, earlier when I said this movie aged well, I do agree with that, except the one thing. And that one thing, the pacing of this movie is what really truly holds it back for me. Yes, the story is great, the songs are great, animation, it still holds up. Everything still holds up to this day, except the pacing. Because most of the movie is just characters either dancing for 10 minutes straight, or just doing nothing for 10 minutes straight. And the movie can almost be broken up into little chunks, because each character does something for 10 minutes. They're either dancing for 10 minutes, seeing if there's a monster upstairs, but it turns out just to be Snow White for 10 minutes, and then do their each little side quest for 10 minutes, and it kind of just makes up this entire plot of the movie. The movie just essentially just feels dragged out, and they just had to throw in segments in there to make the movie the length that it is, because they didn't really know what to put in between it, so they just extended out the scenes. And since the scenes are extended out, it kind of breaks up the pacing a bit. The songs last longer than they should, scenes last longer than they should, and the movie should really just be shortened up. But also with that said, I also feel like the movie's too rushed, because we're focusing too much time on these 10-minute scenes and trying to fill out those scenes. I feel like the story is kind of underdeveloped. The evil queen, we barely see her in this movie. She's the main villain, and we barely see her. For how iconic she is, she needs a bigger role in this movie. She kind of just shows up, poisons Snow White, and then dies. She really needed more significance in this movie. And a lot of stuff with like the prince as well. The prince storyline should have been fleshed out. He shows up at the beginning, then he shows up at the end, and that's it. The only lines he has is when he's singing the Snow White. The prince should have been fleshed out, Evil Queen should have been fleshed out. Snow White is fine for how she appeared in the movie, but I would have liked some backstory to her, like this stepmother stuff and just her and how they met and something like that. Some of these characters really needed to be fleshed out, but for a movie being made in 1937, I can forgive it for that. But overall, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, although being 90 years old, still holds up to this day and marks the beginning of Disney animation. If this movie failed, animation would look completely different from how it looks today. This movie just marked a significance in the culture and animation and film and started a whole new journey for Disney. This movie still holds up to this day and has aged really well. My only problem with the movie is that the pacing is a bit slow and you could have fixed a few story bits and fleshed some characters out. But other than that, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs still holds up to this day and stays as a Disney classic. But anyways, if you like this video, maybe these ones on the side interest you too, like, subscribe, and see you guys next time. Goodbye.